Sexual desires, power and tragedy. The genre of Gothic literature originated around the 18th to the 19th century, made for the preference of women readers. The genre was based on a secular time where religion was put to the side and human values were highly considered. In Gothic literature, supernatural versus natural power is a significant feature and shows the difference between the moral and irrational behavior. Bram Stoker's Dracula contains this convention and displays this vividly in the novel. On the topic of Dracula, we will be giving you a clearer insight into the world of Gothic literature. Welcome to Bath, the beautiful home of the Anglican parish church, Bath Abbey, famous for its historical Gothic architecture that is viewed by hundreds of thousands of people each year. Bath made its famous debut in 1817 as the core setting for Jane Austen's acclaimed Gothic novel Northanger Abbey. Here we had the great opportunity to sit down with Bram Stoker, the author of the timeless Gothic horror novel Dracula, and what he thinks about the 1992 adaptation starring Gary Oldman.
What elements of Gothic literature does the movie adaptation portray which are in your novel Dracula?
This movie adaptation is quite faithful to the novel I have written. I have to say more or less all of the themes in the book have been successfully portrayed. To quote just one example, the setting is pretty much spot on. The dreary, dark castle coupled with the foreboding music makes for a pretty Gothic setting, if you ask me. For instance, the theme of isolation, whether Jonathan is isolated in the castle or the castle itself is isolated from the world, the theme is ever present. What's actually interesting, however, is how the movie also portrays the isolation of Mina after an infection, which I actually did not expect much of from the film. The theme of the supernatural versus the natural is also fully in effect here, represented by the conflict between Van Helsing and Dracula. A final theme I'd like to allude to is the damsel in distress trope, who I personified with the character Lucy. In the book, I wanted Lucy to be weak, and that was shown in the film exactly how I wanted. Actually, even Mina is weak and contrasted with Dracula. You see, in Victorian times, this is how it was. The women were weaker, more fragile than the men, making them prime targets for Dracula.
What character in Gothic literature do you think Dracula can relate to the most?
I would say if there's one person I could relate my character to, it would be Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. When writing my novel, I was very much inspired by Frankinstein. There are many similarities between Dracula and Frankenstein's monster, the most significant being that they're both monsters who are alienated, who aren't allowed a place upon the earth. Society always wants to destroy what it doesn't understand. Because of this, both monsters want to try and understand the world enclosed around them. For instance, Dracula reads English magazines and Frankenstein reads literary texts from the West. Even in terms of appearance, the two share thematic similarities. Dracula appears charming and beautiful, but is actually a master manipulator, pure evil at heart. Frankenstein, however, is hideous in appearance, but harbours kind and innocent thoughts.
What is a significant moral in your novel, Dracula?
There is no real moral to my novel. If I had to say there is one, it's that immortality is just not worth it. As you'll see in this film, which is quite a nice bit of added backstory, Dracula becomes a vampire because he feels betrayed by God, after finding his beloved dead in the aftermath of an important battle. I feel like the opposition Dracula draws to the threat of death is emphasized here. Ideally, he combats his wife's death with immortality all his own. But in doing so, Dracula isn't able to experience true love ever again. He becomes truly evil, a monster who feeds off others without a second thought. It seems tragic, but I never meant for the reader to feel sympathy for Dracula. He is a truly disgusting creature, despite his appearance, and I believe he deserved his death at the hands of Van Helsing. This actually alludes to the theme of good versus evil as well, which could be a moral all its own.
Tune in next week when we interview Mary Shelley and Jane Austen. Goodbye for now.